After nearly a month away, it's home comforts for Ipswich Town this weekend as they look to get the first win on the board against a team who rarely turn over for us at Portman Road. Welcome to Blue Monday, an Ipswich Town podcast. Seb, is it miserable, horrible, wet weather where you are? We love talking about weather on this podcast, don't we? Is it all right where you are or not?
I live in Wales, mate. What do you think?
Oh, of course, sorry, standard.
Yeah.
It's grim here, bloody grim outside, but we're going to bring you warmth and comfort in the form of Aston Villa preview. There you go. I don't know where to go from that. Let's move on quickly. First off, Seb, we'll deal with this quickly and then move on. We are nominated for a football content award, best Premier League podcast. Give us your reflection on that.
I think it's great. I think it's lovely to be recognised. Thank you to, I don't really know how these things work, I'm not going to lie. So thank you whoever nominated us for this award. It is incredibly generous of you to do that. And if you people feel that way inclined, I'm sure you'll put something out on social media about how they can go and vote for us. And if you feel that way inclined, please do. And I presume you'll be hobnobbing it at some sort of event with Mika Richards and Gary Lineker soon, will you?
Maybe, who knows? Yeah, it is our first nomination. We had to wait to be promoted to find our level. But yeah, very much appreciate that. So thank you everyone, Seb, for doing that. Let's say hello to the chat. Good to see lots of people here. I'll tell you what, Michael from Brisbane is in like a flash to give us the weather forecast from Brisbane. Damp, he says, tell me how we're going to beat Villa. We will do our absolute best, but we're making no promises there. Evening to Ashley. The universe doesn't care. Best username ever. Neil is here as well. Filthy weather. Love weather forecast. Rainy Lurstoff says streaky. Evening to Paul. Lovely. Good to see everyone. Upper Town says Charlie. Evening to Ian. Matt is with us as well. Portman Road will be rocking in front of Sky cameras on Sunday. I'm feeling quietly confident. Super Sunday. This is what it's all about. We're getting excited, Matt. That's what we want.
When do you think our last Super Sunday would have been?
I want to say
Man United in the week when Vinicius dived was a late kickoff on a Saturday, wasn't it?
Arsenal away
2-0.
I think I watched it at your house.
Did you?
Yeah,
2-0.
2-0, wasn't it? Darren Ambrose might have made his debut that day, I think.
Royce hit the post. Yeah.
Yes, I think that might be it.
Okay.
Let us know if you know. But also 2 p.m. kickoffs as well. When was the last 2 p.m. kickoff? It's quite a weird on a Sunday, quite a weird time. Evening to Rando. I've had to pause an episode of London's Burning to join you guys live. That's a classic. There you go. Is that a reboot?
A little bit behind the times down there.
TV Gold. Yeah. There you go. Streaky new series of Brassic put on hold for an hour. We appreciate you. If you're able to join us live, we very much appreciate that. But if you're listening again, that's great too. Or watching again. There you go. The preview show is the class of the channel. Not for us to say universe doesn't care, but thank you everyone for getting involved. People here from far and wide as well. ITFC women, Seb, had a bumper victory midweek, 6-0 at Billericay. I was there last season. It was a really horrible, one of the kind of standard games that we have at our level where it was a bit of a dogfight. They made it a really horrible thing and we needed Natasha Thomas to score in the last minute to get a point. But last night, man, there was goals raining in left, right and centre, and Town are now 3 points off the top but have a game in hand as well. So really
and they got 2 games in hand. They've got the AFC Wimbledon game and the Cardiff rained off. Gwalia game last week was rained off, wasn't it?
It was, correct. Yeah, blooming Wales in the rain. So yeah, in a really healthy position. Distraction of the League Cup away at Exeter, where we drew 2-2 early in the season. So yeah, it's all good ITFC women wise. And if you haven't watched the team yet this season, and frankly, I think there's only been a couple of league games at home anyway, hashtag and Lewis. 6th of October, Watford at home next weekend. Get down there, the Martello ground, as it's now known, and get behind the Tractor Girls because there is some definite momentum building and positivity about the chances for their season. So good on them. Before we get into the nuts and bolts of Aston Villa, it's worth noting that our friends at ITFC fan supporting food banks are collecting again. I've got their graphics there, 11:30 to 1:30. Unusual situation, isn't it, Seb?
Yeah, very much so. 2 collection points, one in the fan zone, one opposite Planet Blue. I think it's around the Sir Ralph the Sir Ralph statue. So yeah, as always, if you can, please check out at ITFC_FSF on X or Twitter if you're old like us. And there's a list of recommended items. It's stuff like, canned goods, cereals. There's a cash donation equivalent. If you can, please help out. Great work these guys do. And obviously, with this is the September fixture because it's the only fixture at Portman Road this season. So with the reduced fixture list, we might not be seeing quite as much of them as usual. So if you can, please help out because it's a really, really great cause.
I think it's the time of year where they appreciate warm clothes donations as well. So if you're able to do that, that will be very much appreciated, I'm sure. Let's start the Villa chat early doors then, Seb. We'll give this plenty of airtime. Neil asking you, I guess we get on the bus for home games now, don't we? So the question fits. Offered a point, do we get on the bus? Question mark. Or is this? It's not for ITFC women. Let's use it for Villa. Talk to me about the challenge that awaits us, because it's not the same team that maybe we faced last time, I guess.
I think they're a proper football
club.
We kind of had the same initial descriptions of them, didn't we, earlier on? This is a proper club. I think if you offered us a point right now, I'd probably snap your hand off because that would mean 4 unbeaten. It would be a really solid point because they are an excellent side coming to Portman Road. Let's be honest, it's one of the big established old Premier League greats. Other than Liverpool, they're the biggest club we faced this season. They're bigger for me than Man City. This is a club. That's not outrageous, do you? I don't think so. Do you?
Well, I mean, Villa,
I think City are a smaller club than Villa.
I think in the Premier League era, probably Man City are a little bit bigger. I mean, Villa, huge club in 80s, third place finish, was it second place finish in the inaugural season, but haven't, a few near misses with FA Cup finals and the like, but haven't really, can't argue with City's trophies, can you? But interesting debate it in the chat.
I think Forest are a bigger club than City, if I'm being honest.
They've
got 2 European Cups.
All right.
I think, yeah, I think so. In my opinion, yeah, Villa are a bigger club than Man City. So after Liverpool on the opening day, this is the biggest club we've faced since our return back to the Premier League. And normally you kind of find these sides that get themselves into, not for we know they won the European Cups. They've been in the European Cup before, but they've not been in the Champions League, obviously, for many, many years. I think that normally when a side, a bit like Newcastle, they get into the Champions League, it does affect the league program and they start to have a bit of a drop off with the Wednesday, Sunday games, the fixture congestion. They've started this season really, really well. We'll discuss recent form, discuss where they are in the league, but they have started really, really well. And the guy they've got at the helm is, let's be honest, a bit of a European campaign master, isn't he? So I think this could be a really, really exciting season for Villa. They're currently sat third with 12 points. They've played 5 games, won 4, 1 defeat so far to Arsenal, no draws, scored 10 goals, conceded 7. The victories were over Wolves, Everton, Leicester and West Ham. Probably sides they should be beating given their ambitions for the season. I don't know if they're thinking Champions League again, but they'll certainly be thinking Europa League or, certainly top 6 kind of finish. So they are the kind of sides they need to pick up points against. They actually doubled Arsenal last year, didn't they? They won at Villa Park and they won at the Emirates. So maybe a slight disappointment to lose to them, but they're in good form, averaging 2 goals per game, created 21 big chances so far this season, which is the highest in the league. Missed 12, however, which is the second highest in the league, and an ever so slight performance on XG, 8.7 versus 10 scored. So really positive start to the season. They had young boys in the Champions League a couple of weeks ago. That's kind of a tester for the main event, and they've got Bayern Munich coming to town on a Wednesday night to Villa Park. So that's when they'll feel their European campaign really, really kicks off.
That's the real quiz. Worth noting that the 7 goals conceded is only 1 better than us, and we've played City and Liverpool. 9th worst overall. No clean sheets. They've conceded in every game in the Premier League so far this season. So if we're looking for straws to clutch at, the goals conceded might be a factor. We just watched the Wolves highlights again, didn't we? And not great. There's some of the defending in that one, but Wolves did worse defending and ultimately lost the game as a consequence of it. But yeah, as you say, I mean, worth drawing attention to the wins over teams that are struggling towards near the bottom of the league. As you say, the games have gone to form. That's not a disrespect to Villa because you'd expect Villa. That's where Villa are now. They are. You'd expect them to turn these teams over. Maybe more difficult work than they needed to make it. Certainly, Wolves was a late one. You'll talk more about that in a bit.
2-0
Everton as
down.
well.
Yeah, 2-0 down.
So there's jeopardy there, perhaps. There is a lot to be daunted about, but there's always caveats, isn't there? And we're doing our best here at the Prematch Show to try and find them for you. Do you want to talk about that Wolves game? They obviously played in the League Cup midweek as well, Seb.
Yes, they played against Wickham midweek, but they made 10 changes. Only Amadou Onana kept his place from the weekend against Wolves. 1-0 down, like you said. They do seem to give teams a lead so far this season. They give teams a chance. Everton was a 2-0 lead before they threw that one away as well. So it looks like they do let the side score against them. And then it was a relatively late comeback, wasn't it? It was a big deflected goal by Ollie Watkins, kind of loops over the Wolves keeper, Sam Johnston, and then they get a goal from a kind of a second phase of a set piece from Ezri Konsa. And then John Duran does his normal, comes off the bench, grabs a goal. We'll discuss him a little bit later. So overall, they were good value for the win. It was a 1.73 XG to 0.5, 53% possession, 9 shots, 5 big chances created. So although they had to wait late for the goals, and there was certainly an element of fortune about the equaliser by Watkins, and, did Konsa really mean that kind of finish from the ball in? Not necessarily, but they got the 3 points, and despite giving a team a head start again, like they did for Everton, they found a way to get back into the game and win it. And Ollie Watkins looks like he's coming back into form after was it the Arsenal game? He missed a couple of sitters, didn't he?
And Everton as well, I think maybe. Then he missed a one-on-one with Everton.
He looks like he's getting himself back into form, doesn't he?
Yeah, and I mean, again, I'm going to do my best to try and find these little, as I said, the straws that we're clutching at. That the Cunha goal for Wolves, really nicely taken, actually. I couldn't have placed it any better, and off the post, but comes about through playing out from the back and being a little bit casual. So, like us, they will do that high press, potential to force mistakes. Who knows? But whether you can hold out, that's another question altogether. Last season, Seb, really fantastic return, wasn't it?
Yeah, very much so. So Unai Emery guided them to a 4th place finish into the Champions League spaces. They finished on 68 points, a couple ahead of Spurs in 5th. They actually stumbled across the line a little bit. They kind of did all this hard work getting right to the finish line. And I think it was only 1 win in 5 going into the final weeks of the season, but they did get themselves across the line. They also got to the semi-final of the Europa Conference League, the one that West Ham won a couple of years ago. They lost on aggregate to Olympiacos in the end. We'll discuss Unai Emery and his incredible record in European competitions. So they went very deep into that competition as well. Ollie Watkins, we've already discussed, he was the top goal scorer with 19. Also got 13 assists last season, which is probably why I put him in my FPL team at the start of this season before he did absolutely nothing and I subbed him out. But it was a really, really great season for them. We'll talk about Emery. He joins at a time when the club is struggling, and what he's done over the last 18 months, I think, is pretty much incredible. He took over from Steven Gerrard, who had the club. He just couldn't get them going because I think they had 3 wins when he takes over in November 2022. They pinch him from Villarreal. They pay about £5-6 million compensation for him, and they have simply not looked back since he took over. The opening season that he's in charge, he won 15 out of 25 games. He takes 49 points out of a possible 75, I think it was. And they actually finished 7th that season, which is incredible to think they were only a couple of spaces off the relegation zone when he moved in there. And then last season, he just kept that going with the upward momentum and, yeah, a real class act.
Yeah, and maybe a few local perspectives on Unai Emery skewed by the Arsenal spell, which frankly was probably cut short far too early, maybe by Arsenal panicking a little bit. There was a little bit of trigger happiness about Arsenal at that point, wasn't there, post-Wenger? And I think he was maybe a little bit hard done by there. I mean, it's worth noting, and just to rewind a little bit, Villa did have a bit of a banter era in the mid kind of teens, didn't they? There's a spell of a few ex-Birmingham managers taking charge. Alec McLeish, Steve Bruce, Paul Lambert has a spell there. Tim Sherwood has a spell. Do you remember attending Remy Gard's first game in charge?
0-0 against Man City, and did the whole end hold up snake signs for Fabian Delph or something? Yeah, I remember going to that one.
Whacking day. Yeah.
That was the year they got relegated, presumably, wasn't it? When they had like Mika Richards and Julian Lescott. And didn't Julian Lescott tweet the day they got relegated a picture of like £100,000 Mercedes?
It might have been that after that game, perhaps. I don't know.
Was it? And he had to apologise and say the phone activated itself and opened up Instagram and posted the car or something genius. Yeah, they had a very rough time. Obviously, they dropped into the Championship. We played them a couple of times, didn't we? With the famous Emir Hughes winner very late on at Villa Park. And then they kind of created this Championship cheat code with John Terry, Tyrone Mings, and
Jack
Tammy
Grealish.
Abraham up front, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And they just decided to get themselves sorted out. And yeah, since they've got back to the Premier League, they've really, really kicked on.
Yeah, I mean, can you guess Remy Gard's win percentage, Seb?
Didn't last long. So did he even win a game?
I can't remember. Well, win percentage is 13%. He
Okay.
was succeeded by Roberto Di Matteo. Higher or lower than 13% for Di Matteo?
Must be higher than 13, surely.
8.
Really?
8%
Wow.
win ratio.
Did Di Matteo take them down and then Steve Bruce took over?
Yes. So Steve Bruce took
Okay.
over in the championship, got them to a playoff final where they lost to Fulham, I think. Then
Yep.
Dean Smith came and finished the job. But
Yeah,
you know, as I mentioned, there's a succession of very bad managerial points. I mean, there's a point in the noughties. You know, I used to live. Full disclosure, I know people think that I'm a Coventry loyalist for some bizarre reason, but I lived 20 minutes away from Villa Park when I was a student and used to go and watch. And that was the era of Graham Taylor and Dion Dublin and John Gregory and Juan Pablo Angel and
yeah.
Darius Vassell. And
Yeah.
I loved a long way from home watching some football in the Premier League. That was a great era. And then Martin O'Neill got them really close, didn't he? And then the money kind of disappeared. And it took them a while to get back, and there was even in the championship there was still some off-field stuff, and finally I think it's NSWE, or it might be
they had the dodgy ownership, didn't they? They had a Chinese ownership, and I think there were restrictions on him getting money out of China, and I think there were funding issues around the club, and I think the Americans picked it up for a pretty good price given the stature of the club you're getting. And yeah, they've certainly not looked back. They've made really really sensible off-field decisions with like Monchi coming in as the sporting director, etc. Obviously that's got a big top part to pay for Unai Emery coming in, and yeah, phenomenal club for what they've done over the last couple of years.
Yeah, and that stature of club, as you mentioned, brings with it a fan base, a big fan base, a passionate fan base, maybe one that's got a bit of high expectations, not unreasonably. But I definitely, if you haven't been to Villa Park, I know getting tickets is easier said than done for Ipswich this season, but that the whole end is at full tilt is one of the great experiences of English football, certainly. So,
and it's got the commentary of the European Cup winning goal around
on the
ground
other
and stuff, hasn't it?
Epic. It's a
the
lovely
famous stairs going up.
It's
one of the great institutions.
It's iconic.
It's a bit like Goodison and Anfield. It's one of those great institutions.
Totally agree. Yeah, exactly right. And yeah, so I've a soft spot for Villa, but no soft spot for them on Sunday. It's a different era now. It's long gone. My days in Erdington and Gravelly Hill. Should we move on to us then, Seb? And we've this week, great Blue Monday rewind from Craig and Dave, paying tribute to Dalian Atkinson, the late great Dalian Atkinson, and Gary Shaw as well, recently passed as well. Some bittersweet memories shared from Dave in particular there. But as expected, the stature of Villa, they've got the better of it, but not by much.
No, they've got the edge. 26 wins for Villa, 15 draws, and 20 wins for us. As he's just said, go to Blue Monday Rewind with Craig and Dave this week for a couple of look-backs. The last time we played them in the Premier League was the 0-0 draw in March 2002. I remember Jim Magilton hitting a post, and that's about it. And the last time they came to Portman Road, obviously their relegation means we have played them more recently than some of the sides we've discussed recently. There was a 1-1 draw at the start of the 2018-19 season of the Paul Hurst era. Trevor Chalobah scored a goal for Ipswich, and I'm going to throw you a lineup quiz because I know you love these, and I think you'll find this quite difficult with this absolute dross of a team that we put out that day. So I think this is 3 or 4 games into Paul Hurst's reign. This is the first game after he called them all out against Exeter in the Carling Cup when we lost on penalties or whatever it was. So it looks like it's a 4-2-3-1. Fill your boots.
Help me out, chat.
Don't help him.
Some are obvious. Has he dropped Bart by this point?
No, that was the derby, wasn't it? That was the Norwich game.
Okay, so
Bart's in goal.
Knudsen probably wasn't back in the team by then either because he'd come back from the World Cup. Was he? Okay.
Yeah.
Chambers presumably in there.
Yeah.
Oh man, Pennington.
Nope, hadn't signed yet. He signed right on the. I think he signed on the window. A player that Paul Cook thought was better than Luke Wolfenden.
Enciala.
Toto. Yeah. The right back is still at the club. Maybe not in an official capacity, but he's still at the club.
I've just spotted this from Ryan. A brave man, rich, staying in Erdington and Gravelly Hill. Needs must when you're a student, Ryan. I had a view of Spaghetti Junction out the back of my window, or Star City from my bedroom window. So those are the days. I'm getting help. I'm getting help. This is good. Neil's got the clue that you've just given.
Yeah, he's the right back.
Neil's also gone for John Nolan as well. I guess
he was the number 10, judging from the lineup. Yep, you've got Trevor Chalobah. So who was sitting alongside Chalobah in central midfield?
Who was the loanee from Fulham? Was it
red card? Tayo Eden. He started on the left wing.
Yes.
So you need the right winger, the striker, and the central midfielder alongside Chalobah.
Oh man, because Garner's gone, Waghorn's gone.
Yeah. So who did we replace him with?
Walters hasn't come in by this point, has he? Okay. Blimey, this is tough. Anyone else in the chat? Help me out here. Give me some clues.
Can I help you out?
Yeah.
Well, the central midfielder, I'm surprised you haven't got that, was Cole Scouse.
Ellis Harrison, says Neil.
Ellis Harrison was the striker.
Neil can remember this era pretty well. This is like...
And then who scored the opening goal after about 5 minutes of the Paul Hurst reign, which I think was the high point?
Guion
Edwards was the right winger. Yeah, there you go. I thought you'd struggle with that one because it's obviously an era we've tried to get out of our mind.
Yeah, as Streaky said, it's not a Hall of Fame team there, but we did get the point. Was it 1-1?
Yeah, 1-1. Yeah, 1-1. Yeah. Trevor Chalobah equalised. I think it was was it deflected from a corner? I think it ball falls to the edge of the box and he takes an effort that flies in. So yeah.
I sat in your area I didn't have a season ticket temporarily at that point, and I sat where you sit. There wasn't many people around me at that point. It wasn't the days of full Portman Road.
Shocking.
And I remember someone slagging off Chalobah, but didn't know who he was, didn't know his name. So they were calling him by his number, which is always a sign that someone doesn't know what they're talking about. And within 5 minutes, he scored the goal. And it was kind of one of those moments where you celebrate the goal and then you turn around to the guy behind and go, yeah, back in your box, mate. Maybe you keep your opinions about football to yourself, eh?
The guy that then goes on to play probably over 100 games for Chelsea.
Yeah, the case closed. But hey, people pay their money, they pay their choice. Back to Villa then. Have we mentioned the last bit, Seb?
Let me give him a shout. I need to give Mikey a shout out. So him and Ben do a prediction show every week. Make sure you guys check it out. That comes out on a Wednesday. And they obviously predict each Premier League fixture. And Mikey found this great stat. The last time we beat Villa at Portman Road was back in 1984. I was 6 months old. You were about 5. And the date was the 29th of September. So a nice bit of symmetry there, a nice bit of parallel. We'll be facing them on the exact same day 40 years later. So will we see a repeat of the victory? I think it was 2-1 on that day. So hopefully we'll see a bit of a repeat. But shout out for Mikey.
Nice. Well done, Mikey. I love that. Yeah, good stuff. Should we bring things up to date, though, and look at the recruitment? There was a little bit of PSR, FFP, jiggery pokery. Is that
shenanigans? I think it's fair to say. Yeah, they're one of these clubs that had this kind of June the 30th deadline to meet PSR issues. So they shift a load of people out before June 30th.
Sorry to jump in. They led the vote to increase the limit, didn't they? Didn't they want to raise it to 135?
So. Yeah. I think so. I think they're one of a few clubs that voted for it. Not many actually voted for it in the end, did they? So yeah, they did a load of business at the end of June before that deadline, and then did a load after it. So their actual net spend for the summer is less than £6 million. Based on the players they've brought in and the players they've moved on. Some names a lot of people heard of. Obviously, Amadou Onana came in for £50 million. They kind of take advantage of Everton's kind of FFP issues. They get him for £50 million. Central midfielder. We'll discuss him later. Very physical, box to box, very good player. Ian Matson came in for £37 million from Chelsea. Left back. He was on loan at Dortmund in their Champions League final run last season. Another good player who had a season at Burnley. I think that year they smashed the Championship to pieces. Jayden Philogene, the saga that went on and on and on. He got himself a move to Villa. Well done, Jayden. He's played 9 minutes of football since joining them. Yeah, he's won 9 minutes of. He's played 9 minutes of football since joining them. So not necessarily a move that's worked out on a playing point of view, but apparently he is a Villa fan, having obviously been there and left and gone back. So
other factors at play. Yeah. If I'd given you the choice in July, August time of Philogene versus Jack Clark, where would you be?
Back in July, Jack Clark.
Yeah. Okay.
And still now, to be honest with you, I mean, Philogene may have had slightly better numbers last year, but Jack Clark's always a classy player that I absolutely love. So perfectly happy with Jack Clark. And wasn't he £6-7 million less, I think, as well?
Maybe so.
We got him for a relative bargain, didn't we? Was it 12 million?
I think it was more like 15. We were just chucking.
Was it? Okay.
Chucking money around this summer, weren't we?
Philogene was 18, so that's a big purchase for them. Then a couple of people come in. They did there's a load of weird deals this summer. So they sell Douglas Luiz to Juve for £40 million before the deadline, and they get these two players back from Juve, who they then loan straight out. So Samuel Illing Jr. joins, £12 million from Juve, been loaned to Bologna, and then Enzo Barrenechea comes in, £7 million from Juventus. They're all separate deals, probably for FFP reasons that are above me. And then they loan him straight to Valencia, which is all a bit strange. I think Ross Barkley is a really good buy, £5 million. It was a relegation clause from Luton going down last year. I think that's a really sensible buy. He was on loan from Chelsea there during the COVID seasons. He's gone back to kind of familiar surroundings. And then, as we said,
was he part of that massive victory over Liverpool because they played? Didn't they play a FIFA tournament or something? And
they played the kids. Yeah, they were away for the Club World Cup the year they won the Champions League.
7-3 or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think they were playing in the Middle East somewhere on the Tuesday, and they had like a League Cup game on the Thursday, and they had to play all the kids. And all those memes came out of, do you remember Michael Owen's soccer skills where he bangs one past the kid, and Neville Southwell's like, well done, he's 12.
13 or so,
yeah. Quite a few outgoings, as we've discussed, for PSR purposes. So Douglas Luiz went for 40 million odd to Juventus. Moussa Diaby was a strange one. They only signed him last summer, and they sold him this summer for about a £5 million profit. Obviously, he'll have a year less book value on the book, so there is more in it than that. He goes to Al Ittihad, so they clearly needed to move him on as well. Cameron Archer, they had this weird deal with Sheffield United where they sold him last year. United go down, they buy him back, and they sold him for £15 million to Southampton. And Philip Coutinho is actually still there. He's just been out on loan a lot. He's gone on loan to Brazil to Vasco da Gama. Obviously, very big wages, so looking to move him on. And yeah, just some funny PSR deals. They sell a player to Everton, Tim Ogabudnam, and then they bring in Lewis Dobbin, loan him straight to West Brom. It's all very, very strange. I'm sure there's reasons why they have to do this kind of stuff, but yeah, it was 8 arrivals. I think there were 10 outs in total, including players released. So it was I think they were skating fairly close to the wind with the PSR stuff.
Yeah, I mean, not masses of recruitment. Obviously, they're well established at the Premier League level now, but yeah, Onana appears to be the one, maybe the part of the jigsaw that they were maybe missing, that dominance in central midfield. But yeah, there's goals in that team, and Ollie Watkins, as we saw in the summer, that quality. We'll talk more about key players in a second. But how is is it a 4-2 effing 3-1, Seb?
Well, yes, by default, it's a 4-2-3-1, but when they're out of possession, it tends to become more of a 4-4-2 or a kind of 4-4-1-1. It's a high defensive line, as we saw with Brighton, as we saw with Man City at the Etihad a few weeks ago. They'll really look to congest the middle of the pitch. They'll look to retain possession and build the attack through the middle. They like to use their quick players to hit teams quickly on the break. 8 shots from fast breaks is the 3rd highest in the league so far this season, and last season they were the 4th highest for goals scored on the counter. So they have some real pace in the side. Ollie Watkins, Leon Bailey, if he plays on the right hand side, is very, very fast. Diaby was quite quick last year as well. So they do have players who can really hurt you. They'll retain possession in their centre-backs. Pau Torres and whoever plays alongside him, probably Konza at the back, will pick up the ball off the keeper. They'll look to put it through the middle and really look to hit you quickly on the break. 8th highest for short passes, averaging 410 per match. 3rd lowest for long passes, so then certainly not a side that looks to really hit the ball long quickly. Away from home, they do like to use the right-hand side of the pitch in the very small sample size we have so far this season. 42% of their attacks come down at the right-hand side, and they are a real threat from set pieces. They've got Austin McPhee is their set piece coach. He's the current Scotland assistant manager. 18% of their goals last year came from set pieces, not including penalties. This is all free kicks and corners, and they scored 3 so far this season. So we'll discuss some of their physicality shortly. They're a big side, and they're a big, big threat from set pieces.
It looks like we've got Villa fans in the chat. Thank you so much, Aaron, for getting involved and giving us your insights as well. Hopefully we'll be fair and even-handed about your team, but do correct us if we go wrong. Mentions that Philigine's been out injured and would have had more game time otherwise. 2 lads from Juve, potentially for the future and gone for loan for experience. Long-term injuries coming back as well. So a bit of a state of play on the Villa squad there from Aaron. So thank you for that. We've mentioned a few of these key players, Seb, in terms of that kind of stat and the pace of getting up the field and going through the thirds. Morgan Rogers is a name that kind of stands out for me, but the big kind of probably marquee MVP type signing, to borrow an Americanism, is Ollie Watkins, isn't it?
Yeah, England semi-final hero against Holland back in the summer. He's hit his groove again. 3 goals in the last 2 games. Cost them £28 million from Brentford. Looks like a bit of a bargain now. He's remarkably consistent. Is he 19 goals last season? I think it was 12 before that, 15 the year before that. He's just an excellent player who's really looked to move his game on. Do you think I'm hopeful in the fact that Bayern Munich on Wednesday, Man United at Villa Park next week before the international break? Am I hopeful they might do a bit of rotation? They look at a 3-game week and think, Well, Ipswich is certainly the easiest one. Or do you think they want to set their stall out, get the game done, sub some players at half time or whatever, 60 minutes with an eye on Bayern on the week? I'm kind of hopeful that potentially some of these names we're about to read out might not start, because they have started, incredibly well. Morgan Rogers, you just mentioned, obviously started last season at Middlesbrough, moved in the January window he went from Man City's academy to Middlesbrough, moves to Villa, and this season he's really stepped up a level, hasn't he?
Doesn't he?
Yeah, incredibly classy player. Plays in the 10 role, but can glide all over the pitch. 2 assists so far this season, 4 big chances created. Lovely player, and an excellent bit of recruitment. Because I don't think he was actually that much, was he? When you consider how much a top kind of attacking midfielder would go for, I don't think he was silly money last January. They really did well with that one. John McGinn is the captain. I think we were linked with John McGinn in the Paul Hurst era.
Maybe. Let us know.
I'm sure we were. Yeah, somebody confirmed that in the chat. I wish we'd bought him. He's been playing on the
diminutive,
right.
Isn't he? Though that's
yeah. But he'll go all day for you. Works incredibly
shoot from range, score a goal. Yeah.
Incredible stamina. Often gets subbed around the kind of 70 minutes because he absolutely gives his all throughout the game. Plays on that right hand side, but Leon Bailey could well come in as well, and he's incredibly rapid down that right hand side. John Duran is the super sub so far this season. 4 goals, all from the bench. Scored that incredible long range goal from against Everton to complete the comeback. Looks like a player who's really got the bit between his teeth this season after a few rumours in the summer, weren't there, of moving on. I think West Ham were heavily linked with him, maybe a couple of others, and at one point I think Chelsea were linked as well. It looked like he might move on, but he looks like he's come back fit and firing this season so far. Ezri Konsa, obviously another name we know from England's European Euros campaign. He filled in at right back last time out. They've got an injury to Matty Cash, so the regular right back slot is kind of vacant, and they're kind of playing a couple of different players in there. There's a young lad on loan young lad they loaned out to Bristol Rovers who's come back in, and he's been playing there as well. Very strong, very quick, good in the air, scored against Wolves last time out, so another set-piece threat. Pau Torres is the left-handed centre-back partner of Konsa. That lovely left foot will look to pick up the ball off Martinez, come out with the ball and link play, and again, incredibly strong, incredibly good in the air, and therefore a set-piece threat. And then I think the real quality is this central midfield. Onana we've already discussed, and Yuri Tillemans, who they got on a free transfer from Leicester when they went down. I just think they're an incredibly well-matched pairing. Onana provides the physicality, the box-to-box, incredible stamina. He's an absolute specimen and an absolutely excellent player. He'll sit ever so slightly deeper, but he has got a couple of goals so far this season. And Tillemans is just a really classy player. He did so well at Leicester all those years he was there. I bet they were devastated to lose him on a free transfer, because he's the kind of player that you would want to have decent money for if he's going to move on. But didn't really settle that much last year, but having come in now, he's averaging 84 touches per game, which means everything is going through him, and hopefully he won't be one that starts this weekend potentially. And then Emi Martinez, everyone's favourite shithouser, now that Neil Maupay's gone to the French league. You know what you're going to get from him. He's got that tattoo of the ball where it struck him when he won the World Cup for Argentina. And an interesting stat I found, he had the highest time on the ball last season out of every player in the league, not just goalkeepers, every single player. So I don't know if that's him trying to bait people with the press, or if it's just him S-housing and holding onto the ball for as long as possible to wind the opposition and to wind the fans up. But obviously he's the goalkeeper there. I've mentioned Matty Cash. He's out with a hamstring injury. Tyrone Mings, Ipswich Town link, obviously back in training after 13 months out with an ACL. He did his ACL on the opening game of last season, 23-24. So he's back in training, and hopefully will return soon. And they've got an injury to Boubacar Kamara, who's back in training after 7 months out with knee ligaments. So don't be too scared, folks. Hopefully we'll see a little bit of rotation. But in all honesty, even if he rotates someone like Tillemans, the chances are someone like Ross Barkley just steps in. So this is going to be a little bit difficult.
This is a team that needs to have the depth to be able to field different teams for Champions League, don't they? So you scratch beneath the surface, and there is still quality coming through. But it's going to be fascinating, really, to see how they go about it. Because if we approach the game similar to the Liverpool first half, certainly maybe aggressive in their face, they might not like that, knowing where they've got to play next week, perhaps. So even if they rotate, there is still going to be subconsciously half an eye on maybe what's to come. So who knows? And as we said, there's always the chance of goals to be considered about. No clean sheets so far this season. Any of the stats said before we take a break and then talk about us that you want to
Just
draw
that they're
attention
quite
to?
foully. Their 16 fouls committed per
Ooh.
game is the second highest in the league. And my little insight that I threw in, you smashed it last week with the one about Southampton being
second
static from
phases.
second phase of set pieces. Fair play to you. You nailed that one out the park. This isn't anywhere as insightful as that. It's just that you mentioned there, if we can do what we did against them for the first half, that might not be enough, because 7 of their 10 goals scored so far this season have come in the second half of games.
Yeah.
And that's the third highest percentage in the league. They're very much a second half team for scoring goals. I meant to ask you earlier quickly, sorry, Unai Emery, obviously got this incredible record. He won the Europa League 3 years on the bounce at Sevilla, won it again with Villarreal, took Arsenal to the final and lost 4-0 to Chelsea, took Villarreal to the Champions League semis in his last year there. An exceptional manager. I think he possibly just behind Pep. I think I rate him ahead of Arteta for what he's done over the last couple of years. Where do you rate him in the current Premier League managerial hierarchy?
Yeah, and I need to be really careful that this doesn't sound like I'm demeaning Villa here. The fact that he's had this success with this Villa team, who, let's be clear, have been back in the Premier League for a few seasons, but had a spell out and a really rough spell, kind of noughties, teenies, didn't they? And for that context, I think that success, and also you mentioned the very rapid improvement that he made post Steven Gerrard, got them to 7th, didn't he? And then double down. And our Villa fan friends in the chat have drawn attention to the fact that he's improved players as well. Of course, Arteta has done that, but I think Emery feels much more of an improver of players. And in the context of being at Villa, not Arsenal, I think maybe you're right that he's edging it. And others, JB here agreeing with that as well. And Emery better than Arteta for sure, he says. So
yeah.
Yeah. A quick one here from Will, a Villa fan. McGinn is going to be a big miss for us. Have we missed that one, Seb?
I didn't realise there was a doubt over him, I'll be honest. No, but I presume Leon Bailey will just come in straight on the right-hand side. So it will be a different threat for Leif Davis. It will be out-and-out searing pace running at him in for 90 minutes, I guess.
Unless Will's leading us a merry dance to put us off the scent. But he's predicting a 1-0 for Villa. We will come back for predictions right at the end. But very briefly, we're going to take a pause and hear from our friends at Atwell.
Blue Monday is proudly brought to you in partnership with our friends at Atwell Solicitors, your ideal legal partner for work on property or business law. Their client care has repeatedly been recognised as outstanding, and they are people-focused with a plain English approach which sets them apart. They have offices in Ipswich, Colchester and London, and to find out more, head to atwells.com.
Huge thanks, as always, to our friends at Outwells for sponsoring the pod this season, and our friends at One Stop Badges as well. There's a link in the description for a 10% off promo, and there's a reminder of the laughs, the bants that we're having. The focus isn't working. Damn it. But
do I get my ones on the weekend? Seb
is going to be in receipt of some to hand out pre-match home and away. Dave has got some. No, we're going to give them away, Seb. Going to give them away because that is the kind of lovely people that we are here at Blue Monday. So try and find Dave, Seb, or I, and we will happily give you a Blue Monday one-stop badge if we have any left. So yeah, really excited to partner with them. Also, thank you to Brett Vale, our partners, for the FPL feature, which I'm excited to talk about in a bit. Other bits and pieces of admin. We mentioned fans supporting food banks. Definitely give them your support. The Flagship Show back on Sunday as well. Usual time. I know it's a Sunday game, but we will be back 8 o'clock to talk about the game after the fact, hopefully with positivity in our hearts and minds. Hopefully Ben will make that back in time and join Craig, Dave and Joe for that one. We also need to mention we are nearing a milestone in our YouTube subscribers. We are close to 5K. We're a little bit behind everyone else, but we had to start a new channel partway through our lifetimes, and it's complicated, but we are getting back to hopefully where we should be. If you guys nudge us towards that 5K, we'll give you an Ipswich Town shirt of your choice. We've got a promotion on our socials, the usual like, repost and reply, or that mumbo jumbo, but help us get to that 5K. If we exceed it by a good long margin, we might do some additional bits and pieces as well. But a Town shirt up for grabs, your choice of a home, away, or a third kit. We'll announce the winner, assuming we meet the target, that is, on Wednesday. Other bits and pieces, subscribers, we mentioned, that helps us. A thumbs up as well. Some really great to see some numbers with us tonight. A thumbs up on YouTube in particular really helps draw attention from other people and promote us down the algorithm. We appreciate the thumbs up from folk on Facebook, but also like 5-star ratings and podcast reviews. We appreciate all of those, and plenty of content, Villa content this week, Blue Monday Rewind predictions as well. So lots going on. I think I've covered everything that I want to cover. Let's talk about Ipswich, Seb. We are a little bit unsure how Unai Emery might rotate, whether he rotates, whether he starts strong and brings players off, or, as you said, finishes strong, perhaps brings players on to maybe get the job done if it's a bit squeaky bum for them. But what is Kieran McKenna going to do?
Well, I sat there at 2:30 waiting for the press conference before I sent you the script, and I couldn't work out what I was missing. But obviously then I twigged it's a Sunday game, isn't it? So the Town press conference will be tomorrow. So we're recording this on Thursday. Well, it's going out on Thursday night. We don't know about Kelvin Phillips. That's I guess the big crucial. It was described as a minor thigh strain, wasn't it, last weekend?
Yeah.
Thigh strain, yeah, minor though. So I hopefully he's back. Although I thought Kiyus looked pretty good last week against Southampton. So he's the big question mark, obviously. The defence wasn't amazing against Southampton. Is it going to be O'Shea and Greaves will definitely play, but is it going to be O'Shea again, or is Wolfender going to get a recall? The Sammy Szmodic kind of dilemma. What's his best position? I'm not sure it is, cutting in on that left-hand side. And then I think that George Hurst is going to start this game, and I have no logic behind that. I just think that Delap is young. He scored an excellent goal against Fulham. He seems to have a short fuse and likes to get himself booked every now and again. So I think this might flip. I think we might see George Hurst come into the side for the first hour, and then Delap come off the bench as kind of the battering ram for the last 30 minutes. There you go. I'll throw all that at you.
And George in the chat has said similar. Hopes Hurst starts. Phil Conser and Torres will deal with Delap physically. I'm not sure. Yeah, I don't know. I'm a big fan of Delap, and I think he's a better battering ram for 60 minutes than maybe Hurst is. It's not a bad dilemma to have, really, is it? The two options. So, yeah, we'll wait and see on that one. The left side, I kind of got a sense that at some point Clark needs to come in, but Szmodic is... How was he at Southampton, Seb?
Clark was poor. Clark was really poor against them, but then... Oh, Szmodic, yeah, just struggled to get involved in the game when he's out on that channel. I think he wants to be central, kind of, buzzing around and being a bit of a pest. Had the header. They didn't seem to show the header anywhere. I don't know if it was offside at the end, but he had a header, I think, just after they went 1-0 up, which he should have scored to put it straight at the keeper. I'm just not convinced that left hand channel cutting in his right foot is necessarily his strongest kind of position. But the trouble with that is then you've either got to drop Amari if you're going to play Szmodic in the 10, or put Amari on the right hand side, which we saw him end the Southampton game. I mean, Burns wasn't really at it last weekend. Obviously, still feeling the effects, I assume, of that injury. So it's a bit of a dilemma. And then what do you do on that left? Broadhead is now fit and potentially available. Yep. Jack Clark, I didn't think was very good at all against Southampton, but then he puts that lovely scooped ball in that George Hurst gets the header that results in the corner that we score from. So he still made a vital contribution. So yeah, I think it's just a kind of a, not trial and error, but just keep trying and seeing if we can stumble across something. I mean, McKenna will have a long-term plan for those three positions, but right now it doesn't quite feel like, certainly against Southampton, any of those three really clicked, and I'm not sure they have for a couple of weeks now.
If your simple motivation is there are shirts up for grabs, really, aren't there? I kind of felt Ogbeni was a bit hard done by Seb to not really be involved much last week.
Well, I was surprised when Burns noticeably tired and dropped off. Charlie Taylor, the Southampton left back, who I think he's 31, 32. I was surprised they didn't bring Ogbeni on just to simply run at him. Hutchinson kind of was getting frustrated, got himself a silly booking for getting frustrated last week. So I thought he might be the one to make way, but instead he got moved out to the right hand side. So yeah, and I never think he's as effective on that right hand side because he hasn't got the blistering pace, has he, to knock the ball past somebody and really turn on the afterburners.
A lot of people supporting your theory about Hurst starting. Reading Tractor may be alone in this, but I think Amari is best on the right, not the centre. I mean, is there a shout for Chaplin, who made a cameo at Southampton, to playing his number 10 role, Seb?
Not from the start, I don't think so. No, I think he'll continue to come off the bench for the foreseeable. If you're not starting Hutchinson in the 10, then you're starting Szmodic, aren't you? So in reality, Chaplin at the moment is probably the third choice for that number 10 position.
I'd like to see Ogbeni back in, if I'm honest. I'd quite like to see quite like to see Smodic in the 10, but I don't think you drop Amari, do you? And you maybe play him on the left. I don't know any cuts in. But it feels like, I mean, Chris has mentioned this potential for a completely new front four. Only McKenna will know. It's bizarre. This is an Ipswich Town podcast, and if you're watching on YouTube, it says it above. But I feel like we'd be much more confident with what Villa might do than what Ipswich will do. But hey ho, and thank you to all the love in the chat as well from visiting Villa fans as well. We appreciate you, and thank you for insights as well. But we're usually better about this when it comes to Ipswich, but no one knows.
Let me ask about the defence then. O'Shea or Wolfenden? That's the only debate in the back five, isn't it?
Yeah, and I haven't got an easy answer for that one either, Seb, because I watching back the conceded goal last week. I think O'Shea's a part in that. It's really harsh.
He screws the clearance, doesn't he? That then ends up
and
with
plays Tuanzebe into a little bit of trouble.
Who is also ex-Villa.
Culpable. Oh, of course, yeah. There's a little bit of ex-Ipswich Villa in there, isn't there? Mings as well. I think now O'Shea's got in the team, it's going to be difficult to explain taking him out, but I think Wolfenden's been really hard done by, if I'm honest. But I would expect the same back four from last weekend, probably. Yeah. Okay. And I think Phillips comes back in if he's fit. And we'll end with predictions for the front four. How about that? We'll do score predictions and we'll do Ipswich front four positions. We'll give you some thinking time. And as Streaky said, Wolfie did well against Liverpool. I'm not sure. It's well really good against Fulham.
Against Fulham was really good, yeah.
Yeah, the line wasn't great against City or Liverpool. City second half against Liverpool. But no, let's we'll come back and finish that debate off, Seb, because I don't think there's a right answer. And as we say, we'll find out what's going to happen on Sunday, won't we? Off to our FPL feature, something you bloody love. I've turned down the volume of the little bumpers that we have and the Atwell's promo, but I can't tell if it's worked. So if you're watching on YouTube, I think on podcast, I can tweak it a little bit and normalize the sound. A few people like to doze off with us, Seb, talking about Ipswich's game at the weekend, but then these kind of bumpers wake them up. So if I've got the volume just right, can you let me know? I'd very much appreciate it. Or if I need to do more, and if you need us to stick some, I don't know, some brown noise in the background of when we're talking, or do a bit more ASMR, then just let us know in the comments. We'll gladly oblige. Thank you to Brett Val. We mentioned them; they're our partners for our FPL feature. They've got a combination of offers at the moment: second club membership, an introductory offer of just about £500 there to play through to the spring. They've got a bar situation where you can top up a card and you get £20.24 on your top-up card if you quote Blue Monday. So Brett Vale, just south of Ipswich, if you're a golfer. I know it's not the time of year for it if you're a fair weather golfer like me, but looks lovely in Constable country. So give them a look if you're looking for a round of golf in Suffolk. Seb, I'm going to put it up on the screen. Let's start at least with how people are getting on. We've got a mini league. Paul Draper has taken over control of the top spot from James. Jacob Powley, our mate Jacob, still hanging in there. Chris, who's in the chat, he's fifth. Good on him. But Seb and Rich, nowhere to be found. But we are playing our
we are handcuffed by our Ipswich Town player rules, aren't we?
If you're unfamiliar with the rules that Seb and I are playing to, we are picking 3 Ipswich players in the squad. And 1 extra ex-ITFC or Ipswich/Suffolk linked player as well. We must start at least 2 of those, and they will earn us extra points. But Seb, they're not really doing a great deal for us. I think the Fulham, was it Fulham or maybe even Brighton, worked for us quite well. Fulham, I think it was assist for Davis, wasn't it? And a goal for Delap. But here we go. There's no easy way to say it, Seb. I'm 4-1 up, head to head.
It's a marathon, not a sprint.
Of course
Don't
it
worry
is.
about it.
Of course it is.
Don't you worry about it. This is bollocks, because I think I've beaten you at this game every year since we started it. And the second it becomes a feature on this stupid podcast, I end up getting beaten. It's just, bollocks. It's
only just beginning. Don't worry. There's plenty of time. And I think this is a weird week. I'm still umming and ahhing about Haaland. He's still
he's your entire points. How can you?
Yeah, I know. But
you take Haaland out, I'm about 120 points ahead of you.
There's a point where he drops off and becomes normal, or Pep will rotate him, won't he? That's really the issue. So, do you want to talk us through your team and your changes this week?
Yes, so I made 2 changes. I had a doubt over David Raya in goal, so I had to get rid of McCarthy, who was my ex-non-ITFC player link as my backup goalkeeper because I knew he wouldn't play because Ramsdale has the shirt. So I bought in Nick Pope, who started at the academy with us. So he's my new backup goalkeeper who has an Ipswich Town kind of link. And I have dropped Isak, which means he will score this weekend. And I've bought in Nicholas Jackson, who scored twice last weekend, which means he won't score this weekend. Other than that, it's pretty much the same. I've bought Saliba back in. I've taken Konza out because I think we might score at the weekend. And I've kept my 3-4-3 formation, and I really need some players to start doing some stuff pretty quickly.
Keeping faith with Salah, I see as well. So yeah, good. Nick Jackson, yeah, makes sense. Good call there. I've done exactly the same.
Oh, brilliant. Great. Thanks, mate. Right, wonderful.
So we've cancelled each other out, but worth noting you've got, I think, did you have Konsa on the bench? You've got
Konsa
on the bench.
Yeah.
I had Martinez in beforehand, folks. So don't get all Sebby about it and slag me off. But Jota was really close to being dropped for having a crap few weeks. And then he scored twice in the West Ham Cup game. So I've kept faith, and I've even made him vice captain as well, because a lot of my players are playing away or I could you don't make a defender a vice captain, do you? So yeah, Highland retains the captaincy. Jackson's brought in alongside him. Greaves drops to the bench. 3-5-2. There you go. We will come back next week. I think there's a point where my luck runs out, and I have a sense it might be this week. So keep the faith.
I thought that last week, because I did all right last week, but you still beat me by like 7 points last week, didn't you?
Yeah, what happened? Oh yeah, it was
you kept sending me those emojis of the sunglasses face every time something positive.
Yeah, well, Haaland opened the score.
Haaland scored, yeah.
And Gabriel equalised, didn't he?
Oh, that was it. Yeah, Gabriel got a goal as well, didn't he?
And then Ben White came off the bench because you were saying, well, he's not going to play and all that stuff. So I was rubbing in a little bit, but only because you gave it the big end at the start of the season. We'll come back next week.
Too soon.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I've got form, haven't I? So we'll come back next week and we'll figure that one out ahead of West Ham and see where we've got to. And keep your ITFC Villa score predictions and ITFC front four. If you're a Villa fan, want to give us your predicted lineup as well. Even better, a bit of intel is fantastic for us. Not that Kieran McKenna watches the podcast, but you never know. But yeah, we'll be back in a second to finish off the last few minutes of the pod. Paul, the Atwells one is terrifying when it wakes you up. But Streaky says the volume is fine. Neil says it was quite loud. So we're not going to please everyone by the look of it. I'll keep tweaking.
Is it just our show people fall asleep to, or is the feedback for other shows as well? I'm a little bit paranoid here that we're just sending folk to sleep on a Thursday evening.
Well, we should keep the noise then, shouldn't we? We should do something about it. But no, if a view's a view, Seb, as long as people remember to wake up and press the like button at the end of it, that's all that we need. That's all we ask. But we're here for you, whatever you need. We've all had times where we've leaned on the podcast for different needs and all that kind of stuff. So we're very much here for you. Let's go back to the chat and see what folks have to say. Michael, our mate in Brisbane, Hurst and Chaplin to start. He says Burns cut back to Chaplin, maybe off the bench. He's going for a 1-0 as well. We've got everything packaged in. Seb's not buying that one, Michael, I'm afraid. But it's the hope. You never know. David, Benny to start. Burns, Chaplin as finishers to make that covalent bond to win the game, I think he means there. Paul was going to stick with, I should actually click my mouse, shouldn't I? Stick with O'Shea. They need to grow as a partnership there. Ryan, I think is a Villa fan, maybe. I might be wrong. O'Shea has the pace we will need. Maybe. Apologies if I've got that wrong, Ryan. Philip wants to see Wolfie back, though, and yeah, others have said similarly. Michael, question, Seb, where do you envisage Ipswich Town first win of the season, if not Aston Villa or West Ham away? Everton seems like the question mark, but then Michael said maybe under new ownership, possibly even a new manager at that point.
Unlikely by then, though, isn't it? These things normally take a few months to go through the I don't know what the Premier League fit and proper person processes, but unlikely they'll have a buyout before then. I think it might well be Everton now, although West Ham have started horrifically at the London Stadium, haven't they? They've lost, is it their opening 4 games there, which is a new club record for them. Got smashed in the cup by Liverpool in midweek. So they go to Brentford this weekend. So that'll be interesting. If they don't pick up any points there, that's real pressure building on Lopetegui going into next weekend. Other than that, the next one obviously is Everton at Portman Road. And that has a massive red circle around it because, whilst, yes, things have been going well, we have been playing well. Had we lost that game last week against Southampton, I think we'd all be feeling a little bit despondent at this point. We just need to get that first win to get the monkey off our backs, to kind of get those initial 3 points, get ourselves up and running. We're not in the relegation zone. We've had 3 games of pretty solid performances. Second half a bit iffy against Southampton, but got across the line in the end. I just think this is a real big test. This is a Champions League club coming to Portman Road. Yes, it's on Sky. Is our new Sky TV studio going to be finished? Do we think?
Who knows? Yeah,
they sat in there. I wonder. I don't know what the 4:30.
We might be able to go in that next week. Are you going to tell folk what we're doing next week?
Yeah, we've got a tour, haven't we? We're having a look around Portman Road. We didn't bother.
We paid for it, by the way. No special treatment.
yeah. We never did bother doing it under the Marcus Evans era, but yeah, we thought we'd have a look at it, and that's next Friday evening, isn't it?
Maybe we'll see the cupboard that leads to the
stairs that lead to nowhere.
That'd be good, wouldn't it?
Going back to Michael's question, I think Everton at Portman Road is one for me. You have a big red circle around on the fixture calendar. As whilst I said Brighton can't be a must-win 3 games into the season, if we're still winless by the time Everton come to Portman Road, I'm going to say that's a must-win game.
Paul, who's leading the pre-match mini league, is here with us. He apparently played Delap, Greaves, and Leaf 2 last week, so all blanked. He said. I think they got a couple of points, but yeah, didn't add anything to their appearance points today. Aaron, mad to think in 80-81 our clubs were in the title race, which luckily Aston Villa won. Very luckily, if you watch BM Rewind, Aaron, that blooming cup win in January that gave us 6 more games. If you speak to Dave in our pod team, he'll tell you all about that one. Next season, we're European champions at the first attempt. Yeah, good times. And the 80s weren't too bad for us either. So, yeah, interesting. We won the UEFA Cup, didn't we, that season? But still, that treble was close. A lot of people talking about the volume. Yeah, that was still loud. There you go. I will do my best to tweak that a little bit. What is the title of that music during the ad? As in the Atwells one, Michael? Let me know. Editors is our intro and outro music, by the way. I don't know whether one of the editors guys is a Villa fan. I might be wrong on that. Ed, the drummer, legend, is a Town fan though. But yeah, editors, a ton of love. There's a link in the description, by the way. Get into editors, they're bloody brilliant. Streaky's going for a 3-1 victory. I'll never predict a loss. Good for you. Neil going for a 2-all. Omari, Clark, Ogbeni, Delap is his front 4. Anything you want to critique there, Seb? Are you going to try and give us the positions there? I'm guessing.
I'm normally the pet of the optimistic one. I think the 2-2 might be a little bit optimistic for me. That lineup, though, I presume would see, Clark left, Hutchinson in the 10, Ogbene in the right. I just think Portman Road, Burns probably will start this game, I think. But I still think Hurst is going to be the striker. I don't know why.
Michael asked this question earlier. Apologies, I missed it. Can we not win a game all season, stay up? I suspect probably
unlikely,
not, but we just need to do better than 3 other teams, don't we? Whatever that looks like. But I don't think theoretically that's not particularly good strategy.
You're going to need, it's not 40 anymore, but you're probably going to need 34, 35 points maybe to get across the line. And unless you're only going to lose 3 or 4 games all season, you're going to get there if you don't win any.
Apologies to Ryan, Town fan, but living in Sutton Coldfield, so not too far away, probably surrounded by Villa fans, I suspect. But so O'Shea he's going for Mabby 13, Head 1-3, Heart 3-1. That feels like a bit of Seb. That is. Chris asked who gets to 5 yellows first. Amari and Morsey on 3 already. I think probably we know the answer to that one, don't we?
I think is Delap on 3 as well already, I think. It'll be Morsey when it's going to. But again, Morsey does manage himself really well. Yeah. When he gets to 4, he might well go 5 or 6 games. So I think I'm going to throw a third name in. I don't think I'm going to say Delap. I think he's got a really short fuse, which I like. I like that edge.
Yeah, and then he scores a worldie as well. Chris suggesting Broadhead might come back in alongside Clark though. What's your config there? So Broadhead in the 10?
I presume so. Clark can only play on the left, can't he? And Hutchinson on the right, I assume, behind George Hurst. Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't think we'll see Broadhead make a start without any minutes off the bench first. Maybe he gets back amongst the substitutes, but not in the starting lineup, I don't think.
this is what Sky want to hear as well. His score prediction: 1-0 Town with an Arsenal backs to the wall second half. I'm not sure why Hart can take that one, but I would take that. Take a 1-0 right now if you offered me that. So, Sam, your mate, I'll go for a 2-2. Helpfully corrected the Liverpool score from earlier as well. Sam, I clocked that. Don't worry. Rod is going for a 2-1 Town win. Paul pains me. Paul is an expert in kind of stats and figuring out stuff to be able to do the FPL thing. He's going logic there, and he's going for a 2-1 Villa win, which is not an unreasonable shout, Paul. Don't worry. He's got Amari to score, which would really be helpful for. Have you got Amari in your team? You don't. I've got Amari in my team.
I do. Yeah, I do.
Oh, do you? Oh,
yeah, Delap and Amari are my two constant picks.
Universe doesn't care. 2-1 Town with a late
scenes
winner. More scenes. We love the scenes. Did you? How did you enjoy the scenes last week, Seb, in Southampton?
It was phenomenal.
I can't really imagine you kind of. Did you crowd surfing? Were you hugging Mullet?
Yeah, me and Malik did embrace, and then I very quickly put him back down again. Yeah, you just lose it. It's fantastic, isn't it? You go from that, desolation. You're 90 seconds away from a 1-0 defeat, away to your, potential or definite rivals, scrapping to stay in the league, and then it's just pure elation, isn't it? As soon as the ball hits the back of the net, you do go crazy. I've always wanted to have like a camera and seeing how I actually react to a goal. So I don't actually know how I react. I just sort of lose it and scream and jump around, and yeah, it was brilliant. It was a proper limbs, as they say. There's some great views from the Southampton end, isn't there, of the kind of the moment Morsey scores and it cuts to our fans, and the scenes are absolutely excellent.
Yeah, no one has seen Mullet since.
Unfortunately, I had to drive him back, so I saw him for 5 hours after that as well.
You guys, stop it, you. Last few, Aaron, thank you so much for joining us tonight, Aaron, and other Villa fans out there as well. We really appreciate it. He says, good luck this season, lads, but not when you play the mighty Villa, obviously. Yeah, fingers crossed. It'd be good to stick around and, maybe even try and emulate what Villa have done if we can. But yeah, hopefully an exciting and entertaining game. And if you're making the trip down, enjoy it. Head round Portman Road, check out our statues, but that away and maybe a little bit cramped. So you'll, I think, probably be standing up. But yeah, Streaky enjoyed last week as well. Great scenes all around. And Aaron finishing. I can't end with this one. I predict more limbs in the away end of Portman Road. How dare you? Well, then with Rando's 5-4. Still chance for a few more shout outs, predictions, etc. before we say goodbye. Seb, what's your score prediction? You went for a defeat last week, didn't you? Or did I go for a defeat?
No, against Southampton. No, you said a 1-1 draw, which was bob on. I called you out on it and said you were being negative and we couldn't end the podcast like that. And I think I went for a 1-0 victory.
Oh, okay.
I don't think there'd be goals in it. Sorry, folks. I think Villa are too good. We've discussed their attacking prowess. We've discussed how good this club is. We've described them as a proper football club, which is what we both think they are. And I think they are going to win 3-1. Sorry.
3-1.
But I think 1-1. I'm going to go 1-1 at half time. And then, like I've said, they do come on strong in the second half of games. So I think a 1-1 morale kind of raising draw at half time, maybe similar to the Liverpool game. But then I think across the 90 minutes, I think their greater quality will shine through. Sorry.
I think you're probably right. Ashley's going for a 3-1 as well. But yeah, I'm going to go for a 2-1. I'd quite like us to score first, though. Win the first half and probably, as you say, Villa come back. But the positivity is out there. We are just reflecting our own views, not the views of Blue Monday or the Ipswich fan base as a whole. There are mitigating circumstances. It is just, they are only human after all, as the Matrix.
You're going to start quoting the Matrix again.
Still my favorite one, but yeah, David's gone for a 3-1 there. So great stuff. Thank you everyone who's joined us. Really great numbers tonight. Thank you so much. Appreciate a thumbs up before you leave. Help us give away a Town shirt by subscribing as well. Come back for the Flagship Show Sunday. Ben, Joe, Dave, all being well. Seb and I back next week to preview West Ham as well. Hopefully off the back of something positive out of Sunday. And yeah, I think that's all I've got to say apart from fans supporting food banks. And yeah, thank you everyone for getting involved. I really enjoyed tonight. Thank you.
Yeah, I was going to say, just so thank you to everybody. Great to have those Villa chants. Thank you for joining us in the chat. If you can, support the food bank guys at ITFC_FSF on Twitter or X. See if you can make a difference. And yeah, proper club coming to Portman Road. This is what we dreamt about all those years. We were stuck playing the dross of Rotherham and Oxford and Morecambe and all that stuff. Villa are a proper club. It's on telly, so let's be loud. Let's at least make Portman Road sound intimidating on the telly. Get the atmosphere really, really coming through. All we can ask for the lads, do your best. And as always, come on, you Blues.